Welcome to Pillow Talk Confessions. I'm your host, Belladonna. And today with me, I have Miss Natasha Marie. She is going to explain to us what a breakup and reinvention coach is, because that is her profession. And she's going to tell us about the services that she offers and all those goodies. And we're just going to dive into a conversation about the not so favorable side of relationships, the inevitable endings of relationships. So, Miss Natasha, if you wouldn't mind, just giving us a little backstory as to how you got into this profession.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, my lovely, for having me on. It's just such like an honor to be here. I love your episodes. I love your podcast. So this is just so great to be connecting with you. So yes, I am a breakup and reinvention coach, and I help women heal their relationship with themselves after a breakup. And I also support men as well. The reality is how I even got into this. So I had gone through a pretty toxic relationship, and this relationship it's funny because I was actually going through the breakup before the relationship ended, and it was only after that I was kind of like, wow, like I was in that process of heartbreak probably a month before we were officially broken up. And the series of events that kind of happened after was, during my relationship, I was really told that I was fat, I was ugly, that I needed to lose weight. And I know, right? Your face, your face says it all. But that's essentially what I was being told in my past relationship. And as those layers peeled back, I was in my mindset of, I'm overweight, even though when I look back, I was the slimmest I'd ever been. And I was talking to myself in this really negative way that I was just not good enough because he didn't want me, so nobody else would want me. And so I actually found what I thought I needed at the time, which was an emotional eating coach. But actually I didn't. I needed a breakup coach. Like, that's what I needed. I needed someone to help me navigate round breakups. So after I had gone through working with this emotional eating coach and putting things together, I went from being very broken, very low, very sad, to being able to find my confidence, find my passion again, find my voice, know that I'm worthy. And then after that, I was like, do you know what? I never want another woman or a man to ever go through that, where they feel so unbelievably lost and confused. And it was in that moment that I was like, actually, no, do you know what? We're going to put the brakes on this, and I'm actually going to start to help people navigate. And that's kind of how the whole Natasha Marie life coaching came about, essentially.
Well, I'm glad that you had the wherewithal to know that if you're going through something similar, someone else could be, and decided to, create something where you could help those people. Because nowadays, with things that we're going through in society, a support system and having someone who's reliable and who understands from an empathetic standpoint what you're going through is what we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
So,
especially with things that are going on right now, COVID is really hit hard for so many, not just people who are single, but people who are in relationships. We've got the two ends of the spectrum, people who are locked in a house with essentially somebody they only would see for 2-3 hours an evening, and it's funny because we actually have learned that we spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our partners. And that's now the real test, because the real test is now learning to get on with your partner like you would a colleague.
exactly. It's the whole, I know for me, with this major shift from me going into work every day to being at home 24/7, it's like I got to spend more time with my partner and kind of got to realize sometimes I just don't care for him. And it's just like having to relearn your partner. And some people, it doesn't work. And COVID actually ended relationships. So I did have a question for you in that regard. Did you see like a uptick in clients because of COVID?
Yes, and it's interesting because actually I saw a huge incline in people being very lost and confused, and people reaching out to me on social media and being like, "Do you know what? I'm really struggling. Like, I'm in this really tough space where I don't want to leave him, but my God, do I
Mhm.
want to hit him with a wet fish? Like, I need this man to wake up, you know?" Like, I've had that, but then I've also had, my relationship's broken down, and now I'm worried because I'm no longer in my 20s. I'm in my 30s. I'm Some people even in their 40s, and they're saying I now have to work out not only how to get over the breakup, but how am I going to start dating again when I can't
Mm,
meet that person? So it's almost like people are going through what can only be described as the best circus act of their life. Like they are really juggling everything and they're playing with fire, because what's happening is people are in these they're literally on top of each other in this space of navigating through if they can make their relationship work or if they can't. And it's so interesting to see the dynamics of how, as a business, how different things have shifted, over the last year.
mhm. Well, I will honestly say that it is definitely interesting because, I'm on the different aspect of coaching. I'm trying to keep people in a sense of knowing themselves. So I'm more like a self-love,
Yeah.
and I've rebranded it as intimacy coach.
Mm.
So I'm about people falling in love with themselves and getting back to themselves while they're in a relationship. And you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is why I wanted to talk to you, because it's like, okay, it's a different end of the spectrum. And I wanted to understand how people were coping in the present day society. So like when you're talking about getting people back on the dating scene, what tips do you normally give them? Because it is hard now. You can't, go to the movies or, a restaurant like you would normally do, for your meetups for online dating. So, I mean, what is the advice that you have for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I'm really excited to share, because I think dating online is now the way forward, because you essentially have to, we were all, prior to COVID, more and more people were jumping into that space of, Tinder and, all the apps and different, platforms to essentially meet somebody. And the dating
Mhm.
apps are great because you do actually, I'm a Tinder success story. I've been with my partner for 5 years through meeting through a dating app. But there are so many different platforms where you can meet and essentially get to know somebody. And it's about taking that from your phone and actually doing what we're doing now and having a real conversation. Now,
Mm.
the thing I say to all of my clients is, have a Zoom date, get on Zoom, get yourself a coffee. It's no different to it is very different to being with someone, but in the current climate, it's the best you're going to do, because you want to start to form the relationship. You want to start to form that sense of, am I going to waste more time? Like, am I going to waste going out and paying that money on a coffee? No, I can get it from my kitchen now. And when we change the mindset to being like, actually, I can get ready from the waist up. I'm in my pajama bottoms below. It's cool. Unless he asks me to stand up, which I'm kind of hoping I hope he doesn't. We can be in that mindset of everything is cut in half, but for the good. And we can get to know somebody for 20 minutes and be like, I'm really sorry, I have a meeting in like 20 minutes. I'll have to. Whereas when you go out for a coffee, it's almost like, right, well, I better schedule in at least an hour, and then maybe in
Mm.
case it runs over. Whereas you can be really open and say, I've got 20 minutes, we can catch up. And then you could be like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, I'll just move my meeting. There was never a meeting, that kind of thing. And that kind of thing, right? So
I have fun.
it's
So,
fine,
so
it's good. But the reason why I'm saying this is because it takes the pressure off what was real life dating. And I don't want to play that down, because once we are allowed to do that, obviously that's the most authentic and gorgeous way to connect because we're human beings. We're not, we're not technology. But we have to make the best out of a bad situation, right? And so the only way you can do that is to do something like this, where you sit on a session and you chit chat, have a coffee. Hell, if it goes well, why don't you guys make dinner together? You can start to do things through Zoom as if you are dating. And it's about building on those layers. Like, you can even say, right, we're at 8 o'clock, we're going to watch a movie together. And you literally can watch a movie together. Mm-hmm. And it sounds bizarre, and it is a bit weird. I'm not going to lie, it's a bit weird. But I've had to do that with my family. So it's no different to doing that with somebody who you potentially want to form a relationship with, because you're starting to get to know them. And the only thing you probably won't really get to know is that intimacy, which essentially is very important. But there's all good things come to those who wait, right? So you just have to ride it out. Mm-hmm. But it's about forming that support for yourself, where you really nourish yourself in a really healthy way when you're dating in COVID. It's seeing it as the positive as opposed to the negative. Because when we focus on the negative so much, it absolutely, like, it kind of breaks us down a bit, and we feel really down. We're like, oh God, I've got to go on a Zoom day. It's so hard. Like, it's so annoying. And mm-hmm. it's that negative pull. Whereas if you're like, yeah, I get to go on a Zoom date, we're having coffee, and then who knows what might happen. We might go for dinner in the kitchen, we might make it, extend it. And it's about playing and having fun and making it exciting,
Mm-hmm. So you got to use your imagination, which is something that you can do when you're in person, but it's a lot more entertaining from a distance, because it's something you guys can actually play up on. Yeah. Because nowadays it's what we have to do.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting that you suggest like these Zoom dates and things like that, and being spontaneous about it and putting a positive spin. That's the most important thing that I took away from it.
Absolutely. And it is about being in that positive state, because you're going to attract what you want when you're in that space of, oh my God, I'm just here to have like so much fun. Like, it's essentially kind of like there's no pressure to have to perform to kiss them, to sleep with them, to mm-hmm. have to do anything other than really get to know them, and if like, I think it's the girl next door, if the juice is worth the squeeze, they'll wait, and they'll, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. And it's
mm-hmm.
they'll wait, and you'll wait, because you've formed that bond where it's like, I'm not gonna waste my time on somebody for like 6 Zoom dates or 3 Zoom dates if I'm not planning on meeting up with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we've started to do is we've started to weed out those, excuse my language here, the fuck boys, essentially. We've started to weed them out a little bit, because it's essentially what we're doing.
Well, I mean, and that's a good filter to have, because if their end game is just a hookup, then they're not going to waste time with the Zoom. They're not going to put that energy into the Zooms.
Exactly. So, and you might get someone who does for like one, but then it's kind of like they're not going to be able to hold more. Like, the reality is, I think this is a really great way of really getting to know somebody without the pressure of the other stuff that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you then start to really, and let's take it from both men and women, you as an individual can be like, okay, cool. We can now have these conversations about what we're both looking for after 3 or 4 dates over Zoom, because you've invested your time. Mm-hmm. It's different to going to a bar and doing social things, because regardless of what anyone says, there's always that expectation, third date, are we going to ... Mm-hmm. Whether that's kiss, whether that's sleep together, whether that's, go home together, whatever that might be, whereas you don't have those expectations when you're in lockdown. The expectation might be, okay, maybe you might put on something a little bit saucy. That's the extent of where we're going with this,
Mm-hmm.
But the physical contact is not going to be there until later down the line,
So it's a sense of building that mental connection that you normally don't get to form in a physical setting, because like you said, there's that expectation in the back of someone's mind that, okay, by this date we should be doing this.
Yeah,
With where is 3 Zoom dates, it's getting to know them, what they like, what they don't like, getting to see their personalities and things like that. So I kind of really think that that's a good way to date, nowadays.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Nowadays is great. And I think even after we go out of that, even after we go from where we're at now and we move into the kind of back to the real world as such, I think we are going to see more people doing this, because we're going to be in that space of, hey, let's Zoom first and see how we get on. That will be the
Mm-hmm.
first filter. Whereas before it was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, let's meet for a coffee. Well, now the first barrier will be like, oh, no, actually, you have to jump through a 20-minute Zoom date with me, and then we'll do coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we'll see where it goes. And then we'll see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're automatically weeding out those. I mean, for some people, they love the idea of, getting on the dating apps, meeting a guy, sleeping with them, and vice versa, meeting a girl, sleeping with her. Cool. That's fine, because that's, if you find someone who's on that page, go for it. Enjoy yourself, crack on. It's no bother. For those that are looking for something deeper and are actually looking for a relationship and are actually looking to form a romantic bond with somebody, this is going to be the way forward.
Exactly. I definitely think it's something that is going to set the tone for how we date
Yeah.
going forward. So you deal with people who are either thinking they're going to leave their relationship, or kind of figuring out that they're not themselves anymore while they're in their relationship. How does that look like for you
Yeah.
dealing with them? Like, how do they approach you usually, like if they want your services?
Yeah. So essentially, I like to call it almost like a timeline, essentially, because
Mhm.
we have the first sort of level where we're in level one, where we're going through a breakup, we're heartbroken, we're not sure what's going on, but we know we're not getting back with that person. Like, it's done, it's dusted. I now need to think about moving forward. So I'm trying to navigate around this area, around this level. Then you have like the level 2 area, which is the dating side, where, you know, you're not really over your ex, but you need to move on. And so you're you're moving a little bit forward. You think you're over it. It's all good. The third level is when you go into your first relationship after your ex,
Mm.
and you realize, actually, I haven't cleared up everything I need to clear up. And I'm actually self-sabotaging my relationship. And I'm actually I'm having a huge impact on our relationship, but myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So once you can identify where you are on that timeline, level 1, level 2, or level 3, you can then decide exactly what it is that you think you need the most support with. And that's where I come in. So I identify where you are on that scale. And I say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool. So you're kind of between the heartbreak and the dating state, or you're actually between the dating and then like moving into a new relationship, or you're in that relationship and you're actually really struggling, and we need to work and do some rewiring so you don't mess this relationship up because you're afraid this guy's going to leave you like your ex did.
Mm.
you know
So it's definitely deep. So you have basically like your initial assessment, and then you get to plan out what the procedures are, what they need to be doing in order to fix the problem.
Absolutely, because this is, and I think this is the thing, for me, I work very closely one-on-one with someone, because you are so different to me and somebody else is so different to somebody else. Me putting you in a group program saying, guess what, you do this module, and this module, you'll be healed. In my own personal opinion, it doesn't work like that. And you need to have that one-on-one support to be like, you know, I went through this and it was really hard. And I got this out of this experience with my ex. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay. So what you've done is you've experienced this, this, and this. How can we reframe it so that when you go into this new relationship, you do this, this, and this, which is what you want to do, as opposed to be sitting crying over a bottle of wine because you got too drunk and you were crying down the phone to him saying, please don't leave me, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had that where Now I'll tell you a very quick story because it's so funny. So I when I went through my breakup with my ex, I had just recently come out of it, and we'd, decided to go on holiday, and everything was all fun and dandy. And this was actually it wasn't a few months after, it was almost like a year and a half after. And I was currently with my partner that I'm with now, and he was back home in England. I'd gone to DC to go on a weekend with like my friend and my brother, and we went to a bottomless brunch. And so we're in this bottomless brunch having a few drinks. It was all lovely and fun. Barely made it to 6 o'clock. So my brother puts me in an Uber. Time to go home, Tash. You need to go home now. So off I go back to the hotel room, and I am sobbing my eyes out, crying my heart out. And I'm on the phone calling England saying, please don't hurt me like he hurt me.
Aww.
Please don't hurt me like he hurt me. Repeatedly. And my partner, bless his heart, he's still with me today, thank God. After all this madness, it's because I was like, do you know what? I'd realized that I hadn't done that healing. I hadn't done the healing. I'd gotten into a new relationship with a wonderful man, someone who was really good for me. And I was on the verge, and had you have been a different type of person, I was on the verge of losing what now is a 5-year amazing relationship. And it just shows you that actually those fears can creep up. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because that's a really personal story to me, but mainly because I want people to hear that the minute you clear up your stuff, the minute you actually work on that pain, oh my gosh, you then allow yourself to just blossom into this woman or this man that's just like, oh my God, like I can have the relationship I want. I don't worry about him leaving me now. I don't sit and cry down the phone being, please don't hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Like mainly because we're in COVID, there's nowhere to go, but also we just don't do that anymore, like it's just, all jokes aside, we don't actually do that. But the truth is, I had to work on myself. And that's why I can speak from experience. I am the expert because I've been there. I've got the t-shirt. And this is what I do with my clients is I show them the way forward by giving them those tools, by giving them the techniques. You can it's essentially like we give them when it's so funny, we've actually created, my team and I, we've created this this dating wheel. So it's a Zoom for Zoom dating. And so you kind of like, it's like spin the wheel, and it's like numbered, and then you can, and on the back it's got different like dates that you can do with someone. And it's such a fun little a little thing, and so many of my clients love it because they're like, that's such a good idea, we didn't think to do that. So it really is about finding your flow again.
Mm-hmm.
And just coming back into that space where you're that confident and worthy woman, or that confident and worthy man. It's about really coming back into that flow.
Yes, I really like the insight, and for those of you who have not caught on yet, this is a broadcast that is actually in 2 different countries. So Miss Natasha is not in the United States like myself. She is in
England, the United Kingdom.
So therefore, you do have clients all over.
Yes, I do.
So if someone was interested in your services, it would be no issue to communicate with them, just like how we're communicating now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, for me, I have actually got more clients in the US than I do in England at the moment. And it's funny because it's one of those things where I see it as, I offer a service to help people get out of their way. I help them see what they haven't seen before, because yes, you can read the books. Yes, you can watch the YouTube videos. Yes, you can listen to all the podcasts. But the one thing they're never going to give you is personal, like the personal touch of healing your wounds, your childhood wounds, your trauma wounds, your pain. And I think, and I even have a coach. I have a coach that helps me, not in relationships anymore, but in business. So you transition, and essentially the job of a coach is not to keep you for life. It's to keep you to a point where you're okay to go by yourself and do what you need to do, you know. And if, you know, some of my clients, they're just doing fantastic and phenomenal things. Like one of my clients, she's just you know, she's found somebody, she's dating them, you know, it's in such a like gorgeous space. Another client of mine, she's just started going through IVF with her partner.
Oh, wow.
And that is the most, like, I am just like, that is incredible, you know, from where we were years ago to where you are now, and using everything we've done to not only sustain your relationship, but to want to create a life with that person after we've done this. My God, is that blessing or what? You know, that's just incredible. You
That's
know,
that speaks to not only your work, but the proof is in the pudding. You know, what you're doing is changing people's lives. So my hat's off to you. Those are definitely wonderful success stories to have.
yeah. And, you know, and there are other women who are literally just finding their confidence,
Mhm.
and they are smashing their jobs. You know, they're becoming incredibly amazing in their roles as women, and standing up for themselves and doing more and living that life of, I'm okay to be by myself right now, but I'm not going to shut out a partner.
Mhm.
And that's the difference. Raise your confidence so high that you're literally like, I can just keep going.
So I want to kind of wrap this up because I know you have. It's really late where you are, um, and I wanted to have you impart words of wisdom because, as I usually say, what do you want people to take away from today's episode?
So I would say the thing is, it's just to know that you are so worthy to find somebody who respects you enough to go through everything you're trying to cope with and everything you want in a partner. You know, I want people to know that you can still work on yourself and be in a relationship. You can still work on yourself and date. And it's so important that you take time for you and look after you, because you are the only person that truly matters in your world. There'll be loads, you know, you might have kids, you might have a partner, you might have family, but the reality is, if you don't look after yourself, you don't look after anybody.
That is the ultimate takeaway from this, from everything that you said. I like the fact that you broke it down in the different levels and stages that people are in, and I like the fact that you say that you don't have to be perfect in order for you to start that next relationship, because I think that is a great takeaway.
Yeah.
So, where can people follow you on social media?
Yes. So for anybody who wants to follow, you can head over to Instagram and find me at Natasha_Marie_coaching, or you can head over to my website, which is natashamarieLifeCoaching.com.
Okay. So make sure you definitely follow her on Instagram. She always has some good gems and definitely words to live by when it comes to reinventing yourself. I definitely found you on Instagram and was so happy to have found you because even even when I go through my difficult times, I look at your page for inspiration.
Thank you. And for anybody who is listening to this episode, as a personal gift from me, I will offer everybody who's going through those phases, either 1, 2, or 3, to reach out to me, and I will offer them a free half an hour coaching session.
Oh, now that's a nice offer. So we'll definitely make sure to put that in the description box in the YouTube version, and I will definitely leave that information on the podcast episode. So thank you, Miss Natasha, for joining me. You have been such a pleasure. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
we can do a follow-up episode in the future.
I would love that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, loves. Until next time, make sure you stay tuned. Drop down in the comments with any questions or concerns you may have. I will definitely forward them to Miss Natasha so that way maybe we can get her on a next episode. We are gearing up for season 2. It will premiere on the Thursday, February 5th. If you have not had a chance yet to join us in our group, Pillow Talk Confessions, on Facebook, please do so. Until then, love you later.